Hello everyone, I'm Paul Garcia here with Seth Welch on the Goldinfusion Podcast. Seth is running for a position on the Livingston County Board come November 3rd. It's also his birthday, so make sure you go out and vote for him on November 3rd for a spot on the Livingston County Board. That was repetitive, but hello Seth, how's it going?
Pretty good, Paul. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for coming on to the show today. I
Thanks.
guess it's a show now because I'm recording it.
Yeah, you're 3 in.
Yeah,
Pretty good.
I'm getting pretty serious.
I listened to the first two, though. You did really good, man.
Thank you. Thanks. Yeah. That first one with Kyle was interesting. He really talked like crazy. And then the next one was with Brandon, and Brandon was a little more shy.
Man of few words, Brandon
Yeah.
Austin.
So I know you're running for a position, and the position title is member of the Livingston County Board,
Mm-hmm.
and that is coming November 3rd, correct?
Yes, sir.
First-
All day.
Yeah. First thing, that is your birthday, actually.
Yes, it is. 30 years old.
30.
3-0.
Okay, that's pretty young, by most people's standards, but I'm willing to bet, just out of sheer curiosity, I think in politics in general, people tend to be, 40s and older.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever someone's in their 30s, they're like they're highlighted, they're a young person. What do you think like the average age is for people on the Livingston County Board? I have no idea if it's like 60-year-olds or maybe it is younger people in like their 30s because they're more aware of what's relevant in the community.
I don't know everybody's exact age, but I would say it ranges anywhere from, early 40s to probably late 80s. So there's quite a bit of diversity, but I would be the youngest individual elected if that happens on November 3rd.
I guess, come to think of it, that's actually really important to have that diversity, even a few 80-year-olds sprinkled in there, because
I will say the representation on the county board right now represents very well the age populations that we have in the county right now. So I think there's a fair representation, but there is a big population or upcoming population of young kids that we definitely want to keep here in the county, and I think that I could be helpful in that effort.
So, to my understanding, are there 3 districts in Livingston County?
Yes, sir. There's
Okay.
District 1, which is pretty much kind of moving things around here, but District 1 is everything north of 116. District 2 is everything north of 116. Pontiac and some surrounding areas is the first, or District 1. And then pretty much everything south of 116 is District 3, which I'm running for. So it goes everywhere from Flanagan all the way to Fairbury, McDowell, Forest, Chatsworth, Cullum, everything up in that area. So.
Eight representatives, right? Or members per
Yes, there's 24 members on the county board right now.
Got it. Okay, so
There's a lot. There's a lot.
But there's a decent amount of people in this county, right? Do you know ballpark number?
I would say about 40,000 people, I think, right now that we have in the county.
Okay.
And we're one of the largest in terms of geography, we're one of the largest counties in the state of Illinois, I think next to McLean and Iroquois County. So it takes quite a while to get from the south end of the county all the way up to the north end, and the same east to west. So we're a very, very big county.
Let's see. Well, that's largely probably because of farmland too, right?
Yep.
Okay. So that's 40,000 people. 24 people suddenly doesn't seem like that much, So it's actually an important role, Honestly, how many towns? Do you have any idea how many towns are in Livingston County? I know I'm asking you.
Oh man,
there's a decent amount, more than there are members on the board, right?
Oh yeah, I would say so.
Okay.
There's probably 30 to 40 towns, it really depends. Because there's only Fairbury is considered a city, Pontiac is considered a city, Forest is a village, Chatsworth is a city. So it kind of depends on what you describe as an incorporated area and what you don't. But there's a lot of people in the county, and I think, in my opinion, 24 individuals is just enough. But there are some individuals on the board, current board members, that don't think we should have that many. I think that we should reduce it quite a bit. I think the more people that you have in anything, whether it's politics or in any kind of decision-making process, I'm of the opinion that the more people that you have involved in those things, at the end, you're going to have a better result because there's more representation of what people think.
Logically speaking, you're correct. And you're also having more brains, put together for decision making. Yeah. So you're going to have a more well-rounded, more well thought out, technically, more brain power decision.
Yes.
Okay, so
it might not go as fast, the decision-making process, but in the end, I think the result is much more beneficial to the people.
I think that has a big effect on people's decision-making nowadays. Like on big issues, people want speed. It's like you don't really want speed. If big decisions are getting decided quickly, isn't that kind of a red flag?
It's extremely dangerous. And that's, I don't mean to get philosophical on you, but, as a society, we make decisions based off of rash, emotions. And what we need to get to, in my opinion, what I'd like to do here on a local level is to make decisions based off of logic and reason, make decisions based off of, the information that people have coming in, not just, this is what I think about this issue, and this is, plant my feet in the ground. I don't think that is a constructive way. It might make you feel better for a couple minutes, but at the end of the day, it's not beneficial.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And, and I think if you can not stretch out more than it really needs to be, but if these decisions can be, discussed over, a longer period of time, you're going to more or less reduce the possibility that decisions are going to be made off of harsh emotions in that moment, whatever. Yeah. So anyways, the Livingston County Board makes decisions largely about where money goes. Is that fair to say? That's my understanding of the Livingston County Board decides where the county's money, how it's going to be dispersed.
Yep. Yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, that's one of the primary responsibilities of the 24 people who serve on that board and the personnel, the countless hundreds of people that work for the Livingston County, is to make sure that the tax dollars that are coming in are being used efficiently, that they're going to the right places, that we have, roads that are, or you can travel on your roads, to make sure that we set the tax rates and different things like that. So Livingston County is no different than, the city of Fairbury or the city of Chicago or Cook County. They handle the same problems and same financial decisions as anybody else.
Okay.
But yes, the allocation of money is a big responsibility.
And that's something that people that live in that county could really get mad about,
Yeah, and it's funny that you say that, because I was thinking earlier, we have, in probably the past 20 to 30 years, we've had voter participation of less than 30%, and that's in off-year elections and in general elections. In my opinion, your local elected officials, those are the ones that you want to make sure are competent. You want to make sure that they're proactive. You want to make sure that they have a vision. You want to make sure that they're not just sitting there like a bump on a log, that they're knowledgeable of Livingston County's place in the larger grand scheme of things.
What do you think about the notion that your local government, who your local government consists of, is going to have a larger effect on the world that you live in, really? Like your quality of life. I've heard people say that it affects your life more than who the president is.
Because I think it's because you're closer. I mean, and the thing that I like about local politics is the whole, red shirt, blue shirt thing doesn't really, because,
Yeah, you're right.
I as a Republican, I'm sitting next to my Democratic neighbor, and we both want no potholes in the roads in front of us. We both want to have good schools for our kids to go to. We both want to make sure that there's good tax dollars coming in here, so that we can pay for other things. So, yeah, I think, it's you're definitely impacted by your local representatives more so than you are of any of your state or federal
right down to the quality of your car ride every day, with potholes.
Yeah, and that's the kind of stuff that, people call me crazy, but that's the kind of stuff that interests me. I love seeing that, going back to the road thing, there's a pothole in this road. You follow the steps, you follow the procedures, you follow the bowels of government. But at the end of the day, it gets done. And that's the kind of stuff that, I enjoy seeing that progression and then seeing it come to fruition at the end.
Mm-hmm. So. Going into local government, it's more rewarding. You're going to see immediate results of your labor and your decisions. Not only is that more gratifying, but you're going to get immediate feedback as well. And the decisions and the overall improvement of the county are going to happen faster than the overall improvements of a state, And I don't know, it just seems like it'd be more fun to see the fruits of your labor.
Yeah, I don't necessarily, I've ran for county board before, I ran for mayor, I ran for city council, and I didn't do it to have fun, not taking away from your question, but I was listening to a podcast with Elon Musk the other day, and I'm not equating myself to Elon Musk by any means, but they're talking Elon Musk, he's the CEO of Tesla and Boring Company and SpaceX, some of the most profitable and innovative companies in United States history. And they asked him, like, why the hell do you do all these things? What's your drive? And he said, my general interest is in being useful. I, want to be a part of that effort that increases the likability or the probability that the future is a good place to be. And I can relate to that because, I'm not necessarily doing this so I can pat myself on my back. I think that people have, not Americans, not, North America, whatever. I think people, humans, we have a responsibility to leave the world in a better place than when we received it. And whether you can do that on a small level, like I'm trying to do local, or state, a federal, national, international, whatever level you can do it on, I prefer to be public, to be serving so that I can attempt to make something better, because that's how I get to sleep at night. Is knowing that, you put in an effort and something good comes out of it, not only just for me, but for everybody in the community. That's the kind of stuff, that's where my passion is. I just like to be useful, just like Mr. Musk said, I just like to be useful. And that's how I found that to be useful is to, I've always thought that government is the way to bring about change, that real change, might come after a protest or things that are going on right now. But at the end of the day, real change comes through public policy. It comes through legislation. And I want to see change, and that's the way that I intend to go about it. It's just a matter of getting elected.
Yeah. It sounds like you have, I've kind of always known you have a heartfelt desire for the betterment. You have a heartfelt desire to improve this county, or just Fairbury. You live in Fairbury. And I'm not so sure, and I might just be a dumb skeptic here, I'm not so sure that I see that same virtuous, genuine desire at higher levels of government. Yeah,
No, you're spot on, but and I don't want to offend anybody, but you get what you elect, and at the end of the day, our politicians are elected, on a state and federal level at 90%, incumbency rate across the board. So
hey, what's incumbency mean? I wish
you're getting reelected. So most of the signs that you see going up and down the road are not from people, new individuals that are running for any type of government. It's people that have been in there for 20 to 30 years,
which is insane.
I'm not taking anything away from that. We can get in the conversation about term limits. I think that there are people who have been in there for a very long time. I know there's people on the county board right now who made the decisions that they've made have impacted me. They've impacted you. They've impacted a lot of people positively. So I'm glad that they still decided to stick a part of it. But people nowadays, they want their reality TV show pounding on your chest kind of politics, and I think eventually we're going to get away from that. I think people are going to be tired, but that's what people want. They want the people that go out there and rah-rah-ree, kick them in the knee kind of thing. And I think more and more people will start coming out of the woodworks because they're just going to be like I am. It's not that I'm tired of the way things are going. It's just that, hey, I see problems come up and I say, hey, I deal with stuff like that every day in my personal and professional life. I think I can help, fix that problem. But I'm not, you talk to anybody that knows me and they're going to tell you that I'm the antithesis of a public servant. I'm short-winded. I do not like to talk. I'm shaking right now here doing this podcast. So, I don't enjoy that, going around and just riling everybody up. I'm much more of a behind the scenes. My grandpa always told me there's two kinds of politicians. There's a show pony and a workhorse, and he said you always better be a workhorse. And
that's pretty good.
Yeah, and I'm much more interested in behind the scenes, going through, making sure that the policies that are coming up, or whatever your ordinance or anything, making sure that it's actually going to make an impact, and it's going to have a good impact, not just 5 years, 10 years, but 20, 30, 40, 50 years down the road.
Wow.
So yeah, people, they want their, and I'm not saying that it's because of one individual or anything. It's been coming up to this since I was 18 years old. I mean, it's ever since I can remember anything about politics. The people that are on TV are the ones that are doing exactly like you're saying. They're not there necessarily to see the change. They're just there to be in the shining lights.
Yeah, be in the shining lights and maybe benefit some connections that are already pre-existing there. Them coming into office. you said that you don't love going out and talking and getting people riled up and whatever. You were a wrestling coach and were a fantastic speaker. And I can think back to you seeing pictures of you in high school where you were leading, I don't know, the student section, doing a pep rally thing. So you're actually a fantastic speaker, but you're right. Like, you don't go out and super talkative guy. You don't love to just hear yourself talk.
No.
But when you talk, it seems to have purpose. Real quick, I could go so many different directions. I want to ask you, are you still a wrestling coach? Like,
Yes, sir.
why do you coach wrestling? You also coach a little football, if I'm correct.
No, not anymore, but yeah, I have in the past. But
Yeah.
it's pretty time consuming, and kind of had to make the decision. The county board, you can make the most out if you get elected to any public office. You can make the most out of what you want, but I'm just somebody that if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it 110%. So you have to make a tough decision. I've said I was going to quit wrestling for the past 7 years, and I've been doing it for 7 years because it's just, but you get attached to the kids, you see the progressions that they make.
Yeah, you don't want to spread yourself thin.
Yeah.
I think that knowing that about you would give me more reason to vote for you, knowing that you don't have your fingers in a bunch of different things, that you're going to give 10% of your attention to this. So that's pretty cool. I do want to ask you about wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
You really have been coaching for a long time. When I was a kid in junior high.
Yeah.
So what is it you love about coaching? You've done it for quite a while now, and like you said, you just can't seem to quit with wrestling, at least. What do you like about that? You're good. You're a great coach. You really are, both in technique, but even more so in just how you connect with the kids. I see it all the time. Like, the kids love you. Mm-hmm. They simultaneously respect you. You somehow have a good balance of being humorous as well as being, I don't know, like, stern and respectable. Like, why do you coach, first of all?
For me, I'll start back. It's the respect of wrestling because, I was a, short, pudgy, little kid going into junior high and, wasn't necessarily the most popular or anything like that. Not that matters, but wrestling to me made me comfortable with my body. First off, showed me and, put me into where I'm at today, where you run 2 miles a day or things like that. It just makes you appreciate yourself, I think, and gives people confidence in themselves, because it did for me. But wrestling in general is a great life sport. It literally teaches you any lesson that you're going to learn in life one day, you're going to learn in wrestling. The one thing I love about wrestling is that you have two men or women combat hand to hand, and at the end of the match, the winner gets his hand held and the loser has to walk off. That's something that I think kids nowadays, and even I'm not sounding like an old man here, but I think it's something that we're losing out on is humility, being humble in defeat, and being humble in victory. I can tell first 2 matches that a kid goes through how he's going to handle the sport of wrestling. Does he walk off the mat after he gets destroyed? Does he walk off the mat and throw a fit and cry? Or does he walk off the mat and come up and say, hey, coach, what do I need to do to get better? And then the next practice, he's in wrestling with a state champion, or because we have those in our room.
That room's insane.
We're very, very fortunate, and that's the one thing that I know I'm getting kind of on a tangent here, but that's the one thing that I tell those kids is you guys have a tremendous opportunity here. You need to take it as much as you can, and that's what I love about coaching is I have more respect for. I don't even know what you call the generation below, because I think I'm a millennial. I don't even know what you call that generation, but
I don't know if it's Z or...
They have more passion. I mean, they are the most thoughtful, caring generation that I've come into contact with, in my 30 years. I think they're a little misguided. So they have a lot of passion, but they don't know where to put it. So I enjoy coaching from that perspective, that you get the opportunity to mold these kids at a young age, not, big time, but the 2 or 3 or 4 hours that you spend with them every day, you get a chance to mold those kids and hopefully, see the fruits of that come back later, which I'm seeing right now, with you.
Thanks. And another thing that wrestling teaches you, I think, that really other sports might kind of lack is accountability. It's a singular sport, and like you said, you either take all the victory, get your hand raised, or you take all the loss. Who else are you going to blame?
Yeah.
I mean, it was you versus another human being out there, and it teaches you, you're basically wrestling in front of a crowd, man on man, woman on woman, basically in your underwear. I mean, you're in a singlet.
Yeah.
Some schools don't wear singlets even anymore, but you're in a singlet, And I mean, it teaches you humility in that regard. And I just think it does more for character building than maybe any other sport.
I agree, and I don't. Football's my next, but after that, I don't watch sports because wrestling's ruined it for the rest of them. Because I mean, everything is just. It seems like everything else is a showboat. But you watch the NCAA, Big Tens, watch that championship, those championship matches. That's what sports are. So,
yeah, you're right. And like you said, with football, I'm not like a wrestling only. Everything else is inferior.
Yeah.
Because football, you have to have camaraderie.
Yeah.
What are you if you can't work with other people for a common goal?
Yeah.
I mean,
I think Illinois does a good job as far as team wrestling because there is that team aspect of it. We have, obviously your dual meets that you have, but we have our conferences is team based, and then you have dual team state series, which Prairie Central, we've had some pretty successful programs here in the past couple of years. So there is that team aspect too. But you're exactly right, the accountability, and that's the point that I was trying to make. That's the best. That's the best thing about it because if you lose. It's you. I mean, you have to look in yourself and you have to figure out how to make that change. That is the one thing that I love about the sport.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I want to go back into some more political talk. Really, First of all, you have a fiery passion for politics. Not that you just want to sit and argue about them like some people do. You want to step into the arena and make the changes that will be beneficial. When did that start and why? Was it a moment in time or was it gradual? Was it someone you saw growing up that inspired you? Or why do you do this and when did it start?
I've always been interested. I mean, like I was saying earlier, that's the kind of stuff that fascinates me is the inner workings of government. And I know that's not the case for a lot of other people. I've always been someone that's politically active, been registered since I was 18 years old and have not missed an election. Since I'm a precinct committeeman for the Republican Party here in Livingston County for Indian Grove. So it's just going back to what I was saying, it's just a general interest in being useful, bringing about change that it's one thing to sit and argue and talk about it, but it's another thing to go about and do it. And you're useful when you bring results. And I've found that results come through government. It comes through, whether you like it or not. That's the avenue that you have to take, in my opinion, to make the kinds of changes that anybody wants to make, really. So, to me, government that is the option.
So, when you run for any position of authority in any town or county, typically you really like that county.
Yeah.
And you've grown up and lived in Fairbury your entire life. Fairbury's in Livingston County, and what do you like about this town? Because obviously you like something.
I mean, what isn't to like? I'll give you this. I like the entrepreneurial spirit. I like the fact that, 6 out of 10 of the individuals that graduate from that high school are probably going to end up starting their own company or their own business. So it's not, so I just, we have, how many different, plumbing companies do we have here? And they're all successful. And they're all successful because they continue to branch out. They continue to do those things. It's just that mentality, that small town mentality, that pick yourself up by your bootstraps, that I think is really, it's something that for farming communities like ours, and I'm kind of talking Livingston County in general, but that it seems like we just have a different way of doing things around here, and it seems to be pretty successful.
That's a great point that I've never really considered. Just how many entrepreneurial, businesses that started from someone who grew up here. There's a lot. There's really a lot. It's kind of insane. I'm going to say something that might be, I hope it's not really that controversial. You can say whatever you want. I think that a large part of, there's a really good sense of there's a really good morale in Fairbury. And I think that's largely due to, whatever you think about it. There's a very large Christian community here. And, I'll even be more specific and say there's a large apostolic Christian community here. Probably it's more concentrated here than any, I'm going to say, town. Any other town almost in this county. Maybe I'm wrong there. But at least in this county than almost anywhere else in the country. And I know that one. Would you agree with me that a lot of the reason that this town's done so well is, because of the culture in that religion or that group of people.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think religion in general, I think it gives you a sense of purpose, and it gives you an understanding of what role you play in a larger scheme of things. And I think that's important for anybody to realize. I'm not, a sociologist by any means, but I definitely think that, the large or the high religious population that we have in Livingston County, I absolutely think it is what leads into those, having different having all sorts of businesses popping up, having people that, not having to lock your doors because that your neighbor respects your property or respects your,
right.
Those kinds. So yeah, I think religion definitely plays.
It's the virtues that those religions hold and teach, that make for a great community.
And there's, just in Fairbury alone, there's 10 or 11 different denominations. So I don't think it's just one particular one particular religion, but I think that Christianity overall, I think, gives people the sense of what role do I play in society. And Jesus Christ, that's what he go out and proselytize, go out and get people to come to the religion and come out and be a part of something better. And I think that that's a good thing about Christianity, is it gets people to be a part of a community. And understand the role that they play. I said this 1,000 times, but the role they play in a larger scheme of things.
And think whatever you want at the individual level. Think whatever you want from a religious standpoint. But the fact of the matter is that the culture that has been created by the virtues that are taught in a lot of these Christian religions, especially those in this area, make for a great community.
Yeah,
they do. At least largely, they are a large part of that. Beck, I kind of want to pick your brain a little bit. You were a history major.
Yes, sir.
Correct? You weren't a political science major.
Nope.
And I made the comment before we even started filming this that might be more important. Knowing your history, knowing how things have occurred, how things have unfolded after a certain type of decision was made, after a certain way of doing things was done, the results of that. What do you think? Do you think that it's important to know our history very well?
Yeah, that's what my gravestone is going to say on it, is you have to know where you've been to know where you're going to go. I think that kind of stuff.
It's like two great golden lines
it's to me, it's the most important thing. And it would, in my opinion, if we would emphasize history, if we would emphasize, I'm tangent again, for the social sciences, if we would emphasize those in schools across the United States, I think it would solve a lot of the problems that we have going forward. Just because, civility, understanding that, it's not just about what you think. We are a part of an American society. We were talking about, socialism before. We're going off on a tangent here, but, you want to know why socialism doesn't work? Pick up a history book about Latin America. Pick up a history book about the Soviet Union.
People don't know the history. They really don't.
And that's the thing, is that we, as a society, we become so detached from, I was talking to, one of my nephews the other day about the Holocaust, and it's kind of a morbid conversation, but he was old enough. And, he could not wrap his head around the fact that his grandpa was alive during that time. Like he couldn't put it around that something that he read in a history book actually impacted somebody that's or not, he wasn't in the Holocaust, but somebody was alive during that time. And the more and more, as time goes on, we're getting away from that. We're getting away. One of the most influential speeches that I ever heard was listening to somebody that was in Nagasaki when at the University of Illinois, she came over, and listening to her tell us what she experienced when that bomb dropped in Japan during World War II. That's something that a history book, or listening to a podcast, that's something that oral history, I guess is what you would call it. That's the kind of stuff that you can't teach that kind of stuff, because she had passion, she had empathy, she had all those things in her voice. And we're moving away from that as a society, just because time goes on. We've been out of, the Holocaust happened, how many years ago? People couldn't wrap their heads around the fact that 6 million, 7 million people were systematically rounded up and put into gas chambers and keeled off. So to answer your question, history it is the most important. It's critical.
And I think it's important to recognize that, one, of course, that those things happen. I think some people really don't know. They know that it happened, whatever, they've heard it, they don't know the gravity of it.
Yeah.
They maybe haven't seen, images or heard, let alone heard someone talk about it that lived it.
Yeah.
I mean, that has some serious weight to it.
But yeah, the socialism, going back to that, it's that it blows my mind to see, individual. I think Bernie Sanders, he had some good ideas, but at the end of the day, socialism doesn't work. And I don't care if you put the word democratic in front of it, it doesn't work. And these kids are, I'd hate to say kids, but younger folks, and there's younger generations of Americans that are sipping that Kool-Aid. That this sounds absolutely great. Like this sounds that sounds or college is free. That sounds perfect. Or we don't have to pay taxes if we don't make this. Oh, that's perfect. That's not how a society functions, and it hasn't functioned, and that's why you don't see any successful socialist countries in the world
That's very
today.
true, right? You just don't see.
You don't see them, and you can have anybody, and you're going to have people make comments that, well, this country's socialist, yada yada. No, they're not. Let me say one thing about the history. So I've lost since March with COVID-19. I've lost 30 pounds, and so I was a part of the whole panic, freak out, go crazy, it's the end of the days type thing. Okay, and the reason I did that was because of history. Because I had medical professionals telling me on the television, not Republican doctors, Democrat doctors, actual professionals in the medical community, in journals, all these things, saying that COVID-19 was going to be the next 1918 Spanish flu. So my historical mind goes back to 1918 to 1920. 10% of the world's population was killed in 2 years because of a flu virus. Okay, so I'm thinking 10% of 8 billion people. That's what, 800 million people? That number to me, ding, 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 like that's an alarming number. So that's why I started doing my, running every day, push-ups, sit-ups, things like that, doing my breath test, doing this, making sure I wasn't coughing or anything like that, because I knew historically that I see professionals telling me that it's the end of days or that it's comparable to the Spanish flu in the 1918s or 1920s, and I freak out.
Yeah, when you assess the historical literature, you have good reason to freak out.
But as time's gone on and cooler heads prevail, you realize that it might not be 1918 over again.
Yeah. So you went into politics just because why? What was that? What was your reason?
First off, I don't like to call it politics. I much prefer public service because I think when you use politics, you're falling into that 2020 kind of mentality that
politics has a bad connotation. I think.
Yeah, and I'd much rather, I don't fit neatly into any box, but I'd much rather just stay away from. I'm much more interested in being a public servant. I don't want to go out and do the, rubbing elbows and things like that. I want to go out and do the policy changes.
Do the labor work, basically. Yeah.
But to answer your question, why I want to do it, it's to be useful. That's what it is. I want to be useful.
So you genuinely just want to see the world around you better too.
Yeah.
And do you think that you have a pretty good idea of how to do that? Or you know what? You're really a voice of the people, though. At the same time, being in the Livingston County Board,
you're right.
Yeah, you're more a voice of the people. You're not. I don't know exactly.
Yeah, strictly behind. Yeah, and I appreciate you bringing that up because you do. I'm not going to sit and tell you that I'm not going out. I'm not talking to anybody. I'm not doing any of that. That's not what I meant. It's I'm not a rah-rah, a cheerleader. I'm better at listening. I'll listen to the concerns that people have and use that, bring that back to the drawing board and discuss it with the 23 other members that sit on that board. I've just found in my short time, 30 years on this earth, it's much easier to listen to people and it's much easier to work with others in order to get anything done. So and to be a politician, quotes there, you can't do that. I don't think, in my opinion, you can't do that. When it comes to local government, though, I mean, you don't do the fundraisings and that stuff's just not there. So I don't think people necessarily are looking for politicians on a local level, but I think they're just looking for, like I've been saying, public servants, people that are going to serve them, and that's go back to your thing from the beginning. That's a great. I know all 8 of my representatives, and it's not because I've been running for county board. It's because I just know who they are, and I know that I can call them, I can Facebook them, I can instant message them, I can do any of that kind of stuff, and they're either going to tell me on a first name basis, hey, you're crazy, it's not going to happen, or hey, yeah, we can definitely give it consideration and move forward with it. So my point is that local government is currently and always should be completely different from what happens in Springfield and what happens in Washington, D.C. Because everyone in Livingston County wants to have, good paying jobs. They want to have good schools. They want to have infrastructure that provides to them. They want to have government officials that deliver. They want to have fair shake at taxes. So that kind of blowing things up that happens in Springfield and Washington, D.C. rarely happens in Pontiac, and that's a good thing.
I mean, right. It's crazy because your heart is absolutely in the right place, and you're a very intelligent person. I wonder why anyone wouldn't vote for you. And I wonder if it's a campaigning issue.
Could be.
To be honest.
It could be.
Like you said, you're not an outspoken. You're not going out, and you're not the type of person that's going to be, a wonderful campaigner because you're not loud and obnoxious. Maybe you're not really conceited. But you do genuinely want the absolute best for the county. And for the town of Fairbury.
That's the responsibility. Those. I mean, the losses. I mean, they are what they are. I'm a pretty humble guy. I've been, beaten,
very humble. Yeah.
beaten, trotted, dragged through the mud. That's the kind of, in my opinion, that makes you stronger. That kind of stuff that happens. I mean, it happens. You keep pushing forward, and one of these days, people will feel bad for me. So,
hey, one thing though, one last thing. I want to know. So Fairbury has a drug problem, apparently. Is that fair? Like I hear that.
I don't think it's Fairbury in particular. I think a majority of Midwest, a majority of towns like ours that are in rural America, I think they're facing the exact same problems that we have here, and there are some of them that are way worse. The biggest thing that we need to do as a county board, at any level of local government, is make sure that we're giving our police department the tools and the things that they need to do the job that we're asking them to do. I think that we do a very good job locally, both Fairbury at the county level, of propping up our police department and making sure that they have what they need, giving them the right light. I don't think we throw them under the bus like we're seeing, a lot of things happen across today. So statistically, if you live in the Midwest, you have someone direct relation or very close to you that's been impacted by the opioid crisis that we have. So that's not just a Fairbury issue. That is a issue across the board.
Right, and I've heard that, and I don't think a lot of people know that. It's not Fairbury. It's like that people in every other town are saying the same thing.
It's rural communities, and it's a wide swath of reasons. It's people don't have jobs. They don't have, their job was taken away. Their job was, exported overseas. They're running tough on time because people are making $9 to $10 an hour. And they're supposed to live in a house that's $800 for rent. I mean, there's all sorts of different things that drive people to that. But the biggest thing with the drug crisis, and I get into arguments with people all the time, drug addiction is not a family problem. It's a community problem. It's a community health issue, and it should be handled like a community health issue, which means that it gets the funding, it gets the things that it needs. So we can give our police officers, can we give them the training? If they're okay with it, can we make them also, be, medical professionals? Because when we send our cops out there to, somebody who's, hopped up on meth or something like that, they not only have to be a police officer, they have to be a psychologist, they have to be a therapist, they have to be all of those different kinds of things at once. So we do have a problem just the same as anybody else. I think that we're doing the things that we have to do to handle that problem now. But we also, as a county, we can use the resources that we have here too. We can use it as a laboratory. We can try and figure out ways of how we address those problems, and then, go over to Indiana, who, Southern Indiana has much worse problems in terms of opiate addiction than what we have here in Illinois. We can use those programs to go over there, or they figure out something over there and we try it over here. So,
what do you think of the police officers in Fairbury? I remember. Right now, I haven't heard much negative about them, and I know a few personally, and I know they're great guys. I know them back in the day, maybe a decade ago. It really wasn't the case. People really were not so happy about Fairbury police. I don't know about Chinoa police, any other places, but what do you have any opinions or thoughts about reform, or just opinions about the police officers here?
No, I think, particularly for Fairbury, I think Sergeant McCormick, I think he's done a great job bringing individuals.
He must have, because I don't hear anything negative, really.
Bringing in individuals. It's one of the hardest jobs in today's society. unfortunately, is to be a police officer.
Mhm.
So, you got to respect the fact that they're, taking that risk, and maybe not so much in Fairbury, but they do take risks. And at the end of the day, it's easy to play Monday morning quarterback and have a constituent come in and complain. Well, this guy pulled me over, because he was just coming at me. But that's kind of like the news media where it's just showing that light on that one spot.
Right.
It doesn't show the entire picture. Mm-hmm. And as an elected representative, your job is to make sure that constituents are being served correctly, but it's also to make sure that you're supporting your police department when they're doing the job that you're asking them to do. And I think Fairbury Police Department, I think Livingston County Police Department, they're doing the job that their elected officials ask them to do. And the transitive property, the elected officials are being told what they need to do by the people. Mm-hmm. So that goes up the chain. I have no complaints, but people don't come to me and complain about police officers. So
right,
not yet, anyways. But I can say that kind of going over the whole thing. I don't make rash decisions. I used to, but in my younger age, but I don't make them anymore because I know that there are 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1,000 sides and 1,000 different perspectives on every story. Right. And the most important thing is to sit back, calm, cool, and relaxed, have some logic, have some reason.
Right. And assess the facts, assess the hard data.
It's extremely easy right now to just say, oh, that person offended me, or that person is coming after me, or he's out to get me.
To victimize yourself.
Yeah. If you wake up every day offended, that's not a way to wake up. Mm-hmm. So.
Right. All right, Seth, any other words that you'd like to say before we kind of cut this thing?
The most important thing is get out and vote. Like I said at the beginning, we're very, very low rate of people showing up to vote on election day. And for someone like me that's new, because I am 30 and a lot of people don't necessarily know who I am, maybe, particularly when it comes to countywide.
After this, I think a few thousand more will.
Yeah, hopefully in a good light. But the most important thing is to get out and vote. If you're not happy with the way things are going in 2020 has been a chaotic, crazy year that, my 93-year-old grandma said that in her life, she has never seen anything, like we're experiencing now. Whether it's real, whether it's not, society has changed. And if you're not happy with the way that is, vote, You on November 3rd have the opportunity to vote for local officials, to vote for state officials, to vote for federal, national officials. You have the chance to make a change. And, I'm a firm believer that if you don't vote, you don't count.
Right.
And so most important thing is to get registered. You can get registered all the way up until Election Day. Livingston County Clerk's Office with Christy Mashing and Gail Smythe, they are that office is one of the hardest working offices. I know there's a lot of questions going around right now with the mail-in ballots. Those individuals over there, they are on top of it, and they'll make sure that if you want to get registered all up until Election Day, you have the opportunity to do that, and you can cast your ballot on that day. I do not recommend you wait until last minute, especially with as crazy as things are going now, but you can get registered from now till November 3rd, and you can cast your ballot, and you can make a change at any level of government that you want, especially for younger kids. You can be 18, if you're going to be 18 years old on it, so you're not 18 yet, but you're going to be 18 on November 3rd, which was how it was when I was registered when I was 17 because I was going to be 18 on Election Day. If you're not happy with the remote learning, if you're not happy with your senior sports season getting taken away from you, if you're not happy the fact that you have to wear a mask all around all the time, I know I'm getting kind of political here, but if you don't like those things, you can change that, and you can change it on November 3rd. So that's the most important thing. We have a great group of people over there who make sure that every vote counts here in Livingston County, and I'm confident in saying, if you want to get registered to vote, you can do that, and you can cast your vote. And whoever you cast it for, I don't care, but just get registered.
For the betterment of the county that we live in and the country that we live in.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the greatest thing about being an American is you can make a change in your country, because that can't be done in a lot of other places. So, and we take it for granted, but that's human. All humans take things for granted that come naturally to them. So, yeah, I'm optimistic about the things to come, but we'll see. So
there you have it. November 3rd, go out and vote. Get registered at the Livingston County Clerk's office, right?
Yep, that's one way. I'm pretty sure, and you'll have to, like I said, go online, Google it. It's going to give you step-by-step instructions. But I know the best way to do it, that I would feel most comfortable, is just go directly to the old county courthouse in Pontiac, right in downtown, the old-looking building down there, and tell them that you're there to get registered to vote, and they will help you get that done.
So there you have it, November 3rd. Go out and vote for all levels of government and vote Seth Welch to be a member of the Livingston County Board. Remember, that is November 3rd, and you can get registered to vote at the Livingston County Clerk's office. There we go.
Hey, one last thing. Add this in there. I just wanted to remind everybody that Election Day in the state of Illinois is actually now a state holiday. So if you are a state worker, you will have that day off. And most importantly, your employer has to let you take time off to vote. I believe the polls are open from 6 to 7 o'clock, but you'll have to verify that to be 100% sure. But it is your right and your obligation to vote, and nobody can get in the way of you doing that. So remember that going into Tuesday, November 3rd, 2020.
Thanks a lot, Seth. I appreciate having you on. It was great.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
There you go.